Hey, loves, welcome back. I'm Brittany, your manifesting mentor, and we've arrived at part 5 of chapter 2 of Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. So, this section is called Calling Your Energy Back. And if you've ever felt emotionally drained, scattered, or like you're showing up for everyone but yourself, this part is going to speak directly to your soul. It definitely did mine. Dr. Joe explains that when you give too much attention to your past, to your problems, to people who hurt you, or even imagined worst case scenarios, catastrophic thinking, you're giving away pieces of your energy, and energy is power. So, this section is about reclaiming the energy, reclaiming that energy, and bringing it back into the present moment because that's the only place where you can create real change. So, it's not about cutting people off or forcing or controlling. It's about becoming conscious of where your energy has been and making the choice to call it back. This is how you stop living as the old version of yourself and begin anchoring into the new one. So let's get into it. Yeah, I thought I had it turned to the page. Here we go. Calling your energy back. If you're going to disconnect from the outer world, you have to learn how to change your brain waves. So let's talk about brain wave frequencies for a moment. Most of the time that you are awake and conscious, you are in the beta range of brainwave frequencies. Beta is measured in low range, medium range, and high range frequencies. Low range beta is a relaxed state when you don't perceive any threats from the outer world, but you're still aware of your body in space and time. This is the state you are in when you're reading, paying attention to your daughter during a friendly conversation, or listening to a lecture, kind of like now. Mid-range beta is slightly more aroused state, such as when you're in a group of people introducing yourself to everyone for the first time and you have to remember everyone's name. Ooh, that's kind of intense. You're more vigilant, but you're not overly stressed or completely out of balance. Think of mid-range beta as a good stress. High range beta is the state you're in when you're jacked up on the hormones of stress. These are the brain waves you display when you exhibit any of the survival emotions, including anger, alarm, agitation, suffering, grief, anxiety, frustration, or even depression. High range beta can be more than 3 times higher than low range beta and twice as high as mid range beta. While you may spend most of your waking time in beta frequency brainwaves, you also dip into alpha frequency brainwaves throughout your day. You display alpha brainwaves when you are relaxed, calm, creative, and even intuitive. When you are no longer thinking or analyzing, and instead you're daydreaming or imagining, like a trance state. And beta brainwaves indicate when you're placing the majority of your attention on your outer world. Alpha brainwaves indicate when you're placing more of your attention on your inner world. Theta brainwave frequencies take over in the twilight stage when your mind is still awake, but your body is drifting off to sleep. This frequency is also associated with deep states of meditation. Delta frequency brainwaves usually come during deep restorative sleep. However, over the last 4 years, my research team and I have recorded several students who can move into very deep delta brainwaves during meditation. I'm still working on this. Their bodies are deeply asleep and they're not dreaming, but their brain scans show that their brains are processing very high amplitudes of energy. As a result, they report having profound mystical experiences of oneness, feeling connected to everyone and everything in the universe. See figure 2.7 to compare the different brainwave states. I'm going to show you this as I always do. And you can screenshot. I also took some notes, so let's see. We can get this to focus. Oh, boom, screenshot. Gamma frequency brainwaves indicate what I call a superconscious state. This high frequency energy occurs when the brain gets aroused from an internal event. One of the most common examples is during meditation when your eyes are closed and you're going within, instead of an event that happens outside of the body. We'll talk more about gamma brainwaves in later chapters. One of the biggest challenges people have when they meditate is switching out of high range and even mid range beta and slipping into alpha and then theta brainwave frequencies. It's absolutely vital to do so, though, because when they slow down their brainwaves to these other frequencies, they are no longer paying attention to the outer world and all the distractions they're so used to thinking about when they're under stress. And since they're not analyzing and strategizing, trying to prepare for the worst case scenario in their future based on their fearful memories of the past, they have the opportunity to become present, to exist only in the now. Wouldn't it be wonderful during a meditation to disconnect your association to all the elements in your outer environment, to get beyond your old body, fears, and your schedule, and forget about your familiar past or your predictable future? If you do it right, you will even lose track of time. As you overcome your automatic thinking, your emotions, and your habits in meditation, that is exactly what happens. You get beyond your body, your environment, and time. You weaken the energetic bonds with your past, present reality, and you find yourself in the present moment. Only in the present moment can you call your energy back to you. This does take some effort, although it will get easier with practice because you're living by the hormones of stress most of the time. I did not know this stuff, guys. This was oof. So let's look at what happens when you aren't in the present moment during meditation, so you'll know how to handle it when it arises. Understanding this skill is important because if you can't get beyond your stresses, your problems, and your pain, you can't create a new future where these things don't exist. So let's say you're sitting in your meditation and you start to have some stray thoughts. This is so perfect for priming you, by the way. You're in the habit of thinking that way because you've been thinking the same way and putting your attention on the same people and things at the same time and place for years now. And you've been automatically embracing the same familiar feelings on a daily basis just to reaffirm the same personality that's connected to your same personal reality. Repeatedly conditioning your body to the past. That is exactly what we're doing. The only difference now is that because you're trying to meditate, your eyes are shut. As you're sitting there with your eyes closed, you're not physically seeing your boss, but your body wants to feel that anger because every time you see her in your waking day, 50 times a day, 5 days a week, you are in the habit of feeling bitterness or aggression. Similarly, when you get emails from her, which happens at least 10 times a day, you unconsciously have the same emotional reaction to her. So your body has grown accustomed to needing her to reaffirm your addiction to anger. Mm. It wants to feel the emotions it has become addicted to. And like an addict craving a drug, ooh, the body is craving the familiar chemicals. It wants to feel that familiar anger at your boss because you didn't get the promotion. Or it wants to feel judgment about your coworker who always wants you to cover for him. Then you start thinking about other colleagues who annoy you and other reasons to be upset with your boss. You're sitting there trying to meditate, but your body is throwing the kitchen sink at you. That's because it wants its chemical fix of familiar emotions that you normally feel throughout your waking day with your eyes open. Guys, this really made me realize that, we could look at someone who we think has an addiction like drugs or alcohol and be like, wow, that person's addicted to that. But in actuality, so many more of us, like most people, are addicted to emotions. And just like an addict craves the drug, our body also craves the chemical reaction that we produce from those emotions. This is nuts. This was eye opening for me. Drop some emojis or something in the comment section if this part really woke you up in a different kind of way. The instant you notice what's happening, that you're putting all of your attention on that emotion, you become aware that you're investing your energy into the past because emotions are records of the past. So you stop and return to the present moment and you begin to disinvest your attention and energy out of the past. But then in a little while, you start to feel frustrated again and resentful again, and you realize what you're doing. You remember that your body is trying to feel those emotions in order to reaffirm its addiction to those chemicals. And you remember that those emotions drive your brain into high range beta brain waves, and you stop. Every time you pause, Settle your body down and return to the present moment. You are telling your body that it is no longer the mind. You are the mind. But then thoughts start drifting into your mind about the people you have to see and the places you have to go and the things you have to do later that day. You wonder if your boss has answered the email yet, and you remember that you haven't returned your sister's phone call either. And then today is a trash day, so you remind yourself that you need to put out the trash. And all of a sudden, you become aware that by anticipating those future scenarios, you are investing your energy and attention into the same known reality. So you stop, return to the present moment, and once more, disinvest your energy out of that predictable known future and make room for the unknown in your life. Take a look at figure 2.8, which I'll show you shortly. It shows that once you find yourself in the sweet spot of the generous present moment, your energy, represented by the arrows, no longer goes away from you to the past or the future the way it did back in figure 2.3. Let me show you that chart, by the way. So, hold on. This way? This way. Not that good. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Directions. I don't know if y'all can see that, but yeah. At some point, you probably want to get the book because it's probably easier, but I'll read this to you. It says, now that you're divesting your energy from that familiar past and predictable future, you're no longer firing and wiring the same circuits in the same way. And you're no longer regulating and signaling the same genes in the same way by feeling the same emotions. If you keep doing this process, you are continuously calling all that energy back to you by breaking the energetic bonds that keep you connected to your past, present reality. This happens because you're taking your attention and your energy off of your outer world and placing it instead on your inner world, and you're building your own electromagnetic field surrounding your body. Remember how we say everything is energy and your energy introduces you before you even enter a room? That's because you have an aura, or what he calls an electromagnetic field, that surrounds your body. But when you don't invest energy and attention into it, it's not that potent or powerful. Interesting. Now you have available energy that you can use to create something new. So basically, what this figure says here, it says, as you take your attention off your past, present reality or your predictable future reality, you're calling all of your energy back. So all the things that you think about in the future are out here, and the things you're thinking about from the past are out here. And you're putting your attention on those things. So you're drawing from your electromagnetic field when you do that. But when you call it all back to the present moment, all that energy comes back to you and into your electromagnetic field, which is in the now. Yeah. Not surprisingly, your attention eventually begins to wander again. As you continue to sit in meditation, your body becomes more annoyed and impatient because it wants to do something. After all, you've programmed it every day to get up and follow the same routine. It wants to quit meditation. It wants to quit meditating, open its eyes, and see someone. It does. It wants to hear something on TV or talk to someone on the phone. It prefers to taste breakfast instead of sitting and doing nothing. It would like to smell coffee brewing like it does every morning. And it would love to feel something like a hot shower before it starts its day. We're talking about our bodies as if it's like, well, it is its own thing, but we're just, our consciousness is occupying it. But it's interesting how he's describing this. The body wants to experience physical reality with its senses in order to embrace an emotion. But your goal is to create a reality from a world beyond your senses that's defined not by your body as the mind, but by you as the mind. So as you become aware of the program, you keep settling your body down into the present moment. The body tries again to return to the familiar past because it wants to engage in a predictable future. But you keep settling it back down. Each time you overcome those automatic habits, your will becomes greater than your program. So I highlighted here that you conditioned your body to surrender to the mind. That's basically what we're doing here. So he says, every time you keep settling your body back into the present moment, like training a dog to sit, you are reconditioning your body to a new mind. Our bodies are like untrained puppies. Noted. Each time you become aware of your program and you labor for the present moment, you are stating that your will is greater than your program. And if you keep returning your attention and therefore your energy back to the present moment, and you keep noticing when you're present and when you're not, sooner or later your body is going to surrender. It is this process of continuously returning to the present moment every time you become aware that you've lost it that begins to break the energetic bonds with your familiar known reality. And when you do return to the present moment, what you're actually doing is getting beyond your physical world identity and unfolding into the quantum field, a concept I will explain in detail in the next chapter. So that will be chapter 3. The hardest part of every war is the last battle. That means that when your body, as the mind, is raging, causing you to think that you cannot go any further, wanting you to stop and return to the world of the senses, you keep persevering. You don't quit on yourself. You truly step into the unknown, and sooner or later you will begin to break the emotional addiction within you. When you get beyond your guilt, your suffering, your fear, your frustration, your resentment, or your unworthiness, you are freeing the body from the chains of those habits and emotions that keep you anchored in the past. And as a result, you are liberating energy that is now coming back to you. As the body releases all of the stored emotional energy, it is no longer becoming the mind. You discover you discover that right on the other side of your fear is courage. Right on the other side of your lack is wholeness. And just beyond your doubt is knowing. Knowing. When you step into the unknown and surrender your anger or your hatred, you discover love and compassion. It's the same energy. It just has been stored in the body and now it's available for you to use to design a new destiny. So basically, we are freeing our bodies from the chains of the past. So when you learn to overcome yourself or the memory of yourself and your life, you break the bonds you have with everything, every person, every place, and every time that's keeping you connected to your past, present reality. And when you finally overcome your anger or your frustration and you liberate energy that was trapped in the past, you call your energy back to you. As you liberate all of that creative energy that has been tied up in those survival emotions within you and all around you, you are building your own personal energy field around your body. In our advanced workshops, we've actually measured this effect of calling energy back. We have experts who use very sensitive equipment called a gas discharge visualization or a GDV machine with a specially designed sensor called a Sputnik antenna developed by Konstantin Korotov, PhD. It measures the ambient electromagnetic field in the workshop conference spaces to see how the energy changes as the workshop progresses. On the first full day of some of our advanced workshops, we sometimes see the energy in the room drop. That happens because once we start meditating, and those students have to overcome themselves by breaking the energetic bonds with everyone and everything in their known reality, they're calling back to themselves. They are calling energy back to themselves. They are drawing energy from that greater field, and the field in the room can diminish as participants begin to build their individual field of energy around their own bodies. And now they have available energy to use to design a new destiny. Of course, as our entire group gets beyond themselves the first day, they finally build their own light field. And as their energy keeps expanding each day, they begin to contribute to the energy in the room. As a result, we finally witness the energy in the room rise. To see what this sometimes look like, find graphics 1A and 1B in the color insert. There's like a color insert in here. Is it in here? Graphics 1A and 1B. Oh yeah, so that's this. And this, if you buy the book, you'll see that this has the insert and it explains what happens to the energy in the room. All right, let's see. He says, on one way to increase your chances of a successful meditation is to give yourself enough time so you don't get distracted by trying to rush through the experience. When I meditate, for example, I allow for 2 hours. Okay, so I've gotten up to 2 hours, but sometimes in my day, I just find that 20 minutes might work. There's no wrong answer. But for me, I like to stretch myself to get to a longer meditation whenever possible, if that makes any sense. He says he allows himself for 2 hours. And he says, I don't have to take 2 hours every time, but I know myself well enough by now to realize that if I only have 1 hour, I'm going to tell myself there's not enough time. If I have 2 hours, on the other hand, I can relax, knowing that I have plenty of time to find the present moment. Some days I find the sweet spot of the present moment pretty quickly, while other days I have to work for an hour at bringing my brain and body back into the present. Now he's somebody who is a what I consider a master meditator, and even he has to work with himself. That's why I love him because he's not above the flesh and not trying to pretend to be. I am a very busy person. Some days when I have just arrived home for 3 days between workshops or events, I wake up in the morning and immediately think of the 3 meetings I have planned that day with different staff members, mentally rehearsing what I have to talk about. Then I think about the emails I have to get done before I go to those meetings. Then I think about the flight I have to catch in the afternoon. Then I make a mental note about the phone calls I have to make on the drive to the airport. You get the idea. As that happens, and I'm thinking about the same people I have to see, the same places I have to go, the same things I have to do, all that all that all at the same time in the known familiar reality, I realize that I'm priming my brain and body to look like that future has already happened. I become conscious that my attention is in the known future, and I stop anticipating the known and turn back to the present moment. As I do that, I'm beginning to unfire and unwire those neural connections. Then I might get a little emotional and become impatient and a little frustrated thinking about something that happened yesterday. And since emotions are a record of the past, and where I place my attention is where I place my energy, I become aware that I'm investing my energy in the past. Then the hormones of stress may get my brain aroused, and my body gets a bit fired up into high range beta brain waves, and I have to settle it back down into the present moment again. And as I do that, I'm no longer firing and wiring the same circuits in my brain. I'm disinvesting my energy out of the past. And if I'm aware of the same thoughts that are connected to those same familiar feelings, when I stop myself from feeling the same way, I'm no longer conditioning my body into the past, and I'm no longer signaling the same genes in the same ways. And if emotions are the end product of experiences in the environment, and if the environment that signals the gene, and if it's the environment that signals the gene, then when I stop feeling those same emotions, I'm no longer selecting and instructing the same genes in the same ways. That not only affects the health of my body, but it also no longer primes my body to be in the same future based on living in the past. So, as I inhibit those familiar feelings, I am changing the genetic program of my body. And since the hormones of long term stress downregulate the expression of healthy genes and create dis-ease, every time I'm able to stop when I catch myself feeling any of those emotions that are related to stress, I am no longer conditioning my body to stay addicted to the emotions of stress. Guys, if you understand what he's doing here, he's walking us step by step with what it looks like to catch yourself in the middle of your program and make a conscious choice to change. Because if you don't stop yourself, then you are continuing whatever that conditioning is. And for anybody who already has a disease or condition in their bodies that have developed over time, you want to break that habit of being yourself because that emotional pattern that you have is what got you here. And if you want to see some shifts happen, start from within. You know, the treatments, the surgeries, all of that stuff can be helpful. But whatever you've created from your conditioning in your electromagnetic field, your aura, that energy is still going to be the same, which means it's going to stay incoherent, which means it's going to stay creating incoherence in your body. This is how we're able to influence our health, our genetic expression. So he says, if I do it properly, overcoming my familiar thoughts and emotions of my known past and future, then energetically, neurologically, biologically, chemically, hormonally, and genetically, that predictable future, as well as the familiar past I used to affirm it, no longer exists. If I am no longer firing and no longer wiring the same old neural networks by no longer thinking about those memories of the people or the things at certain times and places, and I keep returning to the present moment, I am calling energy back to me. Take a look at figure 2.9, and you can see how the familiar past and predictable future no longer exists. And that is this beautiful graphic right here. All right. Now I'm in the sweet spot of the generous present moment, and I have available energy to create. I've built my own energy field surrounding my body. Every time I've labored, sometimes for hours, to get beyond myself and find the place called the eternal now. And I truly break through. I've always thought the same thing. That was so worth it. And that concludes part 5 of chapter 2. And I will echo Dr. Joe. That is absolutely so worth it when you find yourself laboring to overcome your emotional addictions. I got a story time that I'm going to share in Friday's live as I go over parts 4 and 5, because I tried to record this multiple times and it didn't work. And I'm going to tell you why in Friday's live. And it has everything to do with this lesson of overcoming emotional addiction. But stick around. I can't wait to see you on Friday's live as we discuss how to call your energy back to you so that you can use it to create the future that you desire. Thank you. See you next time.